want an easy win in the kitchen, try quick bread. They're super simple, very adaptable. It's a chemical ovener, a few bowls, and about an hour in the oven, and you have a delicious treat. Today, I'm gonna show you the best way to make zucchini quick bread. I'm using the wonderful Paige Grandjean's zucchini breakfast bread recipe. She's one of the cooks in our test kitchen and has put in a lot of really thoughtful tips into this recipe. So let's get started. First, I'm going to grease my loaf pan. We're not only going to coat it with butter to help it release, we're also going to put some really nice, crunchy, coarse turbinado sugar. It's going to add a beautiful crust to the bread, a lot of deep molasses flavor, and look really good. So I'm going to grab the pan, and I'm going to use a full 2 tablespoons of butter to loaf this. So this is my pan. You can see the butter. Now I'm going to add some turbinado sugar, and it's gonna stick to that thick layer of butter and help create a crust on the quick bread. So I'm gonna take about a 1/4 cup of sugar with my loud measuring cups, pour some in the loaf pan that's greased, shake it around, and then tap out the excess. So here is my greased and sugared loaf pan. Now I'm going to mix together the dry ingredients. We're gonna use a whisk instead of a spoon. That's really gonna help everything get worked together. So I need 6 3/8 ounces of flour. As usual in baking, I'm using kosher salt here, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. This cake has a lot of spices in it, and it's because zucchini is pretty mild. Now, here we're using baking powder. Baking powder versus baking soda is a pretty important distinction. Baking soda is just bicarbonate of soda. Baking powder has 2 in 1. That means you don't need another acidic ingredient in the recipe. The trick with chemical commercial leaveners is you want to use enough so that you get a rise and nice browning, but not too much because they can lend a little bit of a metallic taste. A 1/4 teaspoon of allspice. The flour takes on that beautiful kind of light brown color. Get a bit of a bigger bowl because I'm going to mix my wet ingredients in here. So I'm using 2 large eggs. As always, I'm going to crack my egg on a flat surface. A bit of canola oil makes for a really moist cake and doesn't add any of its own flavor. I'm going to do 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla, regular old granulated sugar, orange zest, so much flavor and so much aroma. Never buy citrus without using the zest and the juice. I'm using a rasp grater. Here's a part I've zested and here's a part I haven't. There's not a big difference in color. You just want those flavorful bits, not the bitter part. Oh, it smells so good. What else do I need? Oats. We're using old-fashioned rolled oats in this. It's divided, which means that we're gonna use some of it in the batter and some of it we're gonna sprinkle on top. So for the batter portion, I need 1/2 cup of oats. So I'm going to chop my pecans and then grate my zucchini because my board's gonna get a little wet after I grate my zucchini. 3/4 cup of toasted pecans chopped. When the recipe is listed in that order, that means you measure out the ingredient and then chop it. When you read through your recipe before you make it, which you should always do every time you make a recipe, also look at the little details. Are the pecans chopped and then measured or measured and then chopped? I have some delicious pecans. Now I'm going to chop them. Think about what would be like a delicious bite and not like a big honkin' piece of pecan. Roughly chop them, just run your knife through. We're using toasted pecans here. Now they'll bake a little bit in the batter, but because it's in a moist environment, it helps to give them a jump start by toasting them first. It's pretty good. Now for the zucchini. We're gonna get about 1.25 cups of grated bits of zucchini out of this guy. Top and tail. And then I'm gonna use the cheese side. And this can just go right in after you grate it. Okay, combine everything. Really want to let your wrist do the work. The whisk is there to help you. It's a piece of equipment. Use figure-8 motions, scoop around the side of the pan, or the bowl rather. This is nicely combined. Now I'm gonna add the dry ingredients. I'm just gonna do this in one addition. It's not a huge volume of flour and spices. Kind of like when you're making pancakes and they say don't whisk out all the lumps. You really just wanna whisk to combine. So I'm stopping right there. Now I'm gonna add all my toasted pecans. Just really stir those in just so they're kind of evenly distributed in the batter. Now I'm gonna switch over to my very favorite. I always like scraping the bottom of the bowl. I don't want to lose any of the rising action of the baking powder. So I'm gonna transfer the batter in. I'm gonna smooth the top, add my final bit of oats, and get it in the oven, get it baking. I'm gonna set my timer for 40 minutes. That is shorter than the recipe calls for, but I always like checking. Don't pull open your oven door a million times. That lets heat out, that lets things fall and collapse when they're trying to rise. Quick breads can have a tendency to look done on the outside and still be soggy in the middle. The best way to check is a skewer or a cake tester or a paring knife. Slide it right in, pull it right out. Is it clean? Are there only a few moist crumbs? You're good to go. My quick bread is ready. I'm gonna pull it out of the oven. It looks so good. Cracked top, the toasted oats. I'm gonna let this cool for about 15 minutes and then invert it onto a cooling rack so it can cool outside of the pan for at least another hour. The hardest part of making a quick bread is letting it cool. I'm gonna have this for breakfast tomorrow, so I'll see you then. Good morning, it's time for breakfast. Can you hear that? Oh, so good. Look at this. There's oats and pecans. I'm gonna try a bite. Doesn't need anything, but what's not better with salted butter? That's perfect. I'm gonna keep having cake for breakfast, and I do think quick bread is a cake. Comment below if quick bread is cake or I'm being ridiculous.